Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of my favourite people and some of the country's biggest stars. And we've got one for you today. Carrie Hope Fletcher is the lady who has taken YouTube by storm with It's Way Past My Bedtime. Millions and millions and millions of hits. 633,000 subscribers. She's also a wonderful theatre star who we recently saw in Les Miserables as Eponine. What a performance that was. And I'm delighted to say she joins us on the phone today. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Oh, you're very sweet. Thank you very much.
Well, it must be very interesting to be you because you're one of the few who's managed to form an online career that's bigger than your sort of theatre and professional career, which is incredibly hard to do. Well done on that, because that's not easy, is it?
No, to be honest, the online thing was kind of an accident. I was sort of between jobs, and I just thought, why not post a cover of me singing sort of once a month, and it sort of spiraled into this vlogging that sort of took off a few years ago, and it's snowballed since then. And as you said, there's millions of hits that have racked up on my channel now, which I'm very grateful to have.
It's an interesting time in the media. I have a lot of trouble right now trying to get thick PRs to understand how the business is working. And it seems to me there's a bigger online audience than any print audience, any TV or radio audience. Kids now don't have TVs and radios. They're purely watching everything online. And that's what you've tapped into.
Yeah, everything's sort of on the internet. I even myself, I'm 23 and still, I don't have a TV or I don't watch TV. I do everything on my laptop.
Incredible. Let's go back and talk about you as a child before we get on to anything that you're doing currently. I mean, you're so blessed. You've got an innocence about your performance and a voice that's such a gift. Were you born singing, firstly?
I sort of was, yeah. I've been singing ever since I was able to talk. I've never known not being able to sing. It's sort of come very naturally to me, and my brother, of course. We come from quite a musical family. My dad used to play in sort of pubs and clubs in a band. Both my parents are, my dad's a caretaker and my mum was a learning support teacher for years and years and years. So me and Tom have kind of burst forth, all jazz hands.
Yeah, he's gone into a different thing, of course, with Mcfly, and incredibly successful and credible as well. I think that was the first boy band where we went, okay, these guys are musicians and actually really talented. They're not just sort of gobs on sticks that are looking pretty.
No, of course, they write all their own music, and, they actually get on with each other. They're all like brothers, and they're just so talented. They're really incredible guys.
I'm always sickened by people who are incredibly successful and talented because I'm very bitter, as you would expect. It must be great at the Christmas party when you all get together as a family and see how well you're all doing, because it's rare, isn't it, to get this sort of alchemy where brother and sister are both equally as successful.
It is odd, yeah, but, like you said, our Christmas gatherings and stuff, there's always a guitar around, and there's nothing but support and love for everyone.
Let's talk about your West End career, which is remarkable to say the least. I mean, most recently in Les Miserables, it doesn't get any bigger or more wonderful than that in a way. And to play Eponine, I mean, what a thrill of a role.
It was the holy grail of roles for me. I was actually little Eponine when I was 7 years old at the Palace Theatre. So ever since then, it was sort of my dream to go back and complete the circle and play older Eponine. But it was only as I sort of got older and realised how much competition there really was to play that role that I knew that I'd have to work really hard to get there. And I'm incredibly lucky and incredibly grateful for the people that I've met along the way that have been so encouraging and so helpful, and managed to achieve that dream, which is is so rare in itself, but it's been incredible.
That is the greatest show on earth, really, isn't it?
I do agree. It was the show that got me into musical theatre when I was 3 years old. My mum won tickets to go and see it, and she took me. I think I fell asleep in the interval, though.
I don't think there's any show you've done lately that I wasn't at some point. You're in Chitty at the Palladium back in 2002, which again was a wonderful thing. That car coming out over the audience and all that stuff was just wonderful. I mean, when you're in something like the Palace of Show Business, the Palladium, do you pinch yourself? Because that's really where you've made it. You're not playing it anymore.
Yeah, when I was a child, I was only 9 years old when I was at the Palladium, and I knew that it was a big deal, but I just didn't realise the scale. of the whole production. You know, we had Michael Ball fronting the cast as the leading man, and you know, as a child, I knew I'd been told that these were, you know, big names and it was a big production, but I just didn't quite comprehend the scale of it. So now that I'm an adult, you know, I'd love to go back to the Palladium and play it again one day, so I actually fully grasp the scale of what I'm doing and how spectacular it really is.
And another one that I saw that I just loved was Mary Poppins, which was at the Prince Edward. And again, a stunning production, all that magic that was in it. And you played Jane Banks, which of course was the cute role, and you got to see all the tricks of Mary.
Yes, yeah. It was, again, it's so funny when I look back at my own childhood. As a child, it all seems so real and so magic. So when people ask me, you know, what my childhood was like, it's like, well, I had a flying car, and then I had a flying nanny, and at one point I was in the student revolution in France, you know, trying not to get shot on the barricades. I had a very, very strange but brilliant childhood.
I love the bit in Mary Poppins where he walked around the stage. I'm not talking about on it, I'm talking about up it, across it, above it, and then down the other side. Just stunning theatre, wasn't it?
Really spectacular, yeah. Things that had never been done before within the realms of theatre. It was just incredible, and a real spectacular cast with Gavin Lee and Laura Michelle Kelly. It was just an incredible cast.
Yeah, that alchemy doesn't happen very often, does it? Where those sort of level of star come to one production with the right set and everything was just perfect.
Yeah.
Really lovely. And then I wonder what you'd like to go into next. I mean, I've always had a secret desire to be a giraffe in The Lion King. What's your dream role?
I've got a few dream roles. You know, I'd love to be Green one day. I'd love to play Elphaba in Wicked. And then, you know, there's shows that are sort of due to come over that I'd love a shot at being in, like Waitress, which has been on Broadway. And I think Finding Neverland is coming over. So, and I've heard big rumours that Frozen, I think it's been announced now that Frozen is going to Broadway. So, you know, I'd love, you know, it's always been a dream of mine to be a Disney princess. And
then we look at YouTube, and this is completely different because this is just about you and your charm and your charisma sat there singing and talking. Who knew that you could put on a £9 million production and get maybe 2,000 people in a day, yet you can sit in your bedroom talking to yourself and find hundreds of thousands of viewers? That's an irony, isn't it?
I know, it's completely unheard of. But the wonderful thing is that they sort of facilitate each other, which is nice. I love having, you know, my YouTube channel riding alongside what is, you know, my ultimate sort of life's passion and my life's work. Because so many actors, you know, sort of just don't get to share what they're doing on such a big scale. So it's lovely to have this audience sort of there watching who are very like-minded, you know, that come to my channel because they like, you know, reading and writing and musical theatre and singing and performing. So it's lovely to sort of be able to show them backstage at shows and get to share what I'm so passionate about with people who are also so passionate about it. That's sort of the wonderful thing that I've found within YouTube.
I guess we're similar in a sense that both of our audiences, our biggest audiences right now, are online and they're invisible. Do you know who your sort of target audience is? Because I have no clue really who logs on to me. I've got the stats, but I don't know who they are. Have you sort of got a target audience?
Again, all I have is an analytics page from YouTube, but there's quite a lot of information on there. Like I know where in the world they're watching from, and sort of the age range that they are, and my main age range is sort of 18 to 24. But of course, when I was younger, sort of 5 years ago, just starting out on YouTube, they were younger again. So it's almost like they've grown up with me, which is really, really lovely.
Just extraordinary. And then when you look at 600,000 subscribers, that means 600,000 people are going to immediately see what you do that's new. Do you obsess over figures and things like that, or would you do it if one person watched it?
Oh, I'd still be doing it if one person was watching it. There's nothing more magic than being able to share something you're passionate about, whether that's with one person who, you know, is sat in your living room or is sat in their living room watching you on a screen, or if it's 600,000 people. You know, I just love sharing what I do because I think it's, you know, it's brilliant. That's the reason I'm doing it. So whether it was one person or 100 people or 100,000 people, it doesn't matter to me at all.
And this is a bit of a crude conversation, but in terms of monetizing this, I mean, you've got a huge following. I think you people are going to be the next big stars and higher paid than TV stars even, because this is where the big audiences are being driven. You've turned this into sort of a great literary career because, of course, the books have been very successful. Does YouTube sort of buy you first-class flights around the world? Are you one of these people who's sort of crashing Porsches because you can do?
No, and I don't even think I wish I was, because I think I'd sort of lose the real value of money and life if I did. But YouTube is sort of a very small percentage of my own income, and I'm scared of being bored. That's sort of what I tell everyone when people ask me how I end up doing so much with my life. But it's because I genuinely am scared of being bored. I don't like sitting still and not being busy. But also, I personally can't live off of YouTube. But everything else sort of together, I'm sort of, managing to get by with theatre and books and YouTube all combined.
Is your ambition to take this to TV, what you're doing on YouTube, or would you like to be back in the theatre doing 8 shows a week?
The theatre is where my heart is, absolutely. I love the theatre, and I think no matter what I do with my life, I will always end back on stage.
Yeah.
Because that's just my calling, as it were, in air quotes. I'd love to see on TV and maybe in films one day, but it will always be as a character. I don't think I could ever be myself. I'm quite awful at being myself in front of people.
Well, you say that, but you're not. I mean, the people who follow you on YouTube love you being you. You're not a character on that, are you, really?
There is a sense of sort of, exaggerating slightly who you are, because, when you are filming, it's just you in front of the camera, alone in your bedroom or in your living room. So there is sort of a sense of sort of, switching yourself on, as it were, as you would in front of a crowd. But there's no nerves or butterflies when I'm stood in my living room on my own. Whereas when I'm stood in front of a crowd and I'm told to be myself, I find that very, very difficult.
Maybe my YouTube channel would be more successful if I did that. So I'm just making a note. I've got to turn myself on in front of the camera. You think that'll work, do you?
That'll definitely get you views.
I'll give it a go. Let's see. Now, we need to talk about this because it's quite serious, that young people don't seem to realise how serious plagiarism is and all of that stuff. It's seen acceptable by 16 to 24-year-olds that downloading stuff without paying is okay. New research has shown 42% of those between 16 and 24 surveyed don't think there's anything wrong with accessing content from pirate sites. It is quite worrying, especially for artists like you and me that depend on people sort of paying to keep us alive.
I think the scariest statistic is that there's a further 29% of 16 to 24-year-olds who know that it's wrong but still do it. I think that's sort of the real shame. But it's so important to get behind creativity and people who make creative content, because when you're contributing to that industry, it means that more of it can be created in the future. When you've got first-time authors who get such a small percentage of the books that they sell, if those ebooks are being downloaded illegally, it means that they just can't fund their further careers in the publishing industry, which is such a shame. And the industry is estimated at 84.1 billion of the UK economy, which is a huge, huge percentage. And if that starts, decreasing, it means so much less creative content gets made.
The difficulty is the internet gives us all a platform, but it also allows us all to be destroyed by people who give it away on our behalves. What can we do about it, though? I think the greatest quote I ever heard was that a true test of our character is how we behave when we think there's nobody looking. In other words, if there was no security guard at the checkout, would we bother paying for our shopping? And it's a good thought, that really, to think about, because we wonder, how do we stop people doing this? Because there's nobody looking at them, stopping them doing it.
Absolutely, and I think it's all about putting a face and a personality behind the creative content that people are downloading illegally. And we're encouraging everyone to sort of hold up signs and take pictures of themselves, saying how much time they spend on their creative passions or how much time they spend consuming that creative content. Because for me personally, I've spent over 120 hours rehearsing for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang for the tour, and to then see people recording it from the audience to then put it online as a bootlegged version of the show. It's so sad, and that's just me, that's just my 120 hours working on that show. And if you put all of the time collectively of the cast, the crew, the creative team, that's it's sort of months and years worth of time if you put it all end to end. And I think if people just don't think about that when they're downloading illegally. They don't think about the people on the other end who are suffering or, who are sort of hurt by downloading illegally. And if you put a face and an actual sort of estimated time of work and love and passion that goes into these projects, I think people would really think twice about it.
The problem is that the people who are filming you doing Chitty aren't doing it out of malice. They're probably a fan and they love you and they just want to keep that memory forever, which is a generational thing. My mum and dad used to go and watch a concert. Now it seems to me young people under 25 go and film a concert. It's bizarre.
Absolutely. I don't think any of it's done out of malice or, you know, trying to be vindictive and get back at the actors on stage or you know, get back at the artists who are creating music or the authors who are writing books. It's simply because they're a fan and they want to share this content, and sadly it's done illegally and then ends up hurting the people who they're a fan of.
I can only imagine this is going to get worse unless people like you come out and speak about it. If people want to find out more, where do they go?
There's a website called getitrightfromagenuinesite.org, and it's got lots of information, and it also has a big list of genuine sites where you can get free and paid for content.
We all know it's right to not do it, but to get people to do it's going to be incredibly tough.
Absolutely, I completely agree. I think it is one of those things that, like I said, there's 29% of 16 to 24-year-olds who know exactly what it is that they're doing, that it's wrong, but they're still doing it anyway just because it might be a little bit easier or they haven't thought it through enough. And so I think the more people that talk about it and put personalities behind this work that they're downloading illegally, people might think twice.
We're talking to Carrie Hope Fletcher today, star of the West End and also online at YouTube. It's Way Past My Bedtime is her YouTube channel. You can go find out more there. Very finally, I was reading about your brother and the difficulties he's had with bipolar. He talked about that in their autobiography, and also eating disorders and weight and all that stuff that comes with the business. It is tough, isn't it, to be young and hot and successful and in pop, which means by definition you've got to be popular. Have you ever had moments where it's played with you and your confidence?
Absolutely, more so than I could probably sum up within this interview. But I think anyone who is in a creative job within the public eye, there's an element of needing people to like you and get on board with what you're doing in order for your job to succeed or for you to continue doing what you're doing. And that does sort of play with your mind, as it would anyone. So it does get difficult every now and again, especially when there's something that you do that a big group of people disagree with, and suddenly you feel like the whole world hates you. That definitely sort of takes its toll.
It's a very fine line, isn't it, between people commenting and bullying. And I think this is something my generation didn't have. When I was at school, there was no Facebook to catalogue every single error of your life or every picture. And I look at my face, I mean, you've never seen anything more disgusting. To think that that could have been recorded over 10 years of school would just be utterly depressing. For your generation, that was a reality, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, that also comes hand in hand with it. There's that pressure to look a certain way as well, which is a huge problem, as we know. It's in the media a lot. Women and girls especially are sort of told that there's a perfect way to look. And, social media definitely has a huge part to play in that, with, pictures being shared left, right and centre. And it does get very difficult, especially for a younger person and people of a younger generation growing up with these ideas being instilled in their minds that aren't necessarily true.
Help me with being a young woman now, because, I mean, I'm an old fart and I don't quite get it. It seems there are two types of women. There's your type, which are the smart ones that are going out, creating a path in life. And there are those that walk around looking like Oompa Loompas with orange faces, pouting. When did that start? And is it all Towie's fault? Why do some young women think that that's going to do them well in life?
I don't know, and I think the main answer is that it doesn't really matter. What someone else chooses to do with their life is sort of no one else's business but theirs, and if that's how they, want to live their lives, then so be it.
That's a cute answer, but it's not really real, is it? Because in this world of Twitter and Facebook, everybody's commenting on everything, so everybody does have an opinion, and seemingly more than they ever did.
Oh, everyone does have an opinion, but it doesn't mean everyone should have an opinion,
right,
or that everyone's opinion should be listened to.
Yeah.
And if you choose to listen to the people who are telling you, who are sort of like using social media to bully you into doing something other than what you're doing, then it's your choice to listen to it or not. And if you are the sort of person who, wants to, fake tan yourself and have the long nails and the bling, as it were, then you should absolutely do that if that's what you want to do, and that's what how you want to live your life, and it's up to you if you want to let the internet and people on the internet tell you otherwise.
Right, so we should all mind our own business, really.
Pretty much, yeah.
Do you find that people are mostly lovely towards you? I mean, you're not really doing controversial material.
Every now and again there is something that's vaguely controversial, but it's never anything that's, you know, really, really damaging. And I've grown up on the internet. I've been on Twitter since 2009, I think. So that's, you know, a considerable amount of time, and I've sort of learned how to deal with certain situations over that time. And I think, you know, I think I'm quite good at dealing with backlash when it does arise, but it's very rare that it does.
Congratulations on everything. You're really remarkable. First of all, you're a stunning singer and a remarkable actress too. So compelling in Les Miserables. I hope to see you in another big show in the very near future. You can find out more by going to Carrie Hope Fletcher on Google. Put it in and it'll come up with the YouTube channel. It's Way Past My Bedtime is the biggest of the two that you've got. Your vlogs are incredibly successful and I wish you all the best with that. And of course, you can find out more about plagiarism and nicking other people's stuff and the consequences of that by going to this website. What's the website?
GetItRightFromAGenuineSite.org.
Carrie, really good to talk to you. Hope to see you again.
Thank you very much.